Welcome to the next perfect step. I'm Lori Tremblay.
And I'm Kim McStay, and today we're going to have a very interesting conversation about sort of the magical part of life, the mysterious part of life that we all take for granted, that we all are tuned into. But she is going to share with us her experience with her son, and I would love to introduce Heidi Drake. And she is also she and her partner Glenn do Glenn and Heidi Heart Circle couple of times a week in
Yep.
Goffstown, New
Yep.
Hampshire. So Heidi, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good to have you.
Love to have the opportunity to talk about my favorite subjects.
There's lots of them, so.
There are. There are.
So why don't you just start off by, explaining to us what brought you into, well, let's start from the beginning. Go ahead and start where you would like to start.
I grew up in the matrix of not knowing it was a matrix, and
I like that.
Yeah.
So true.
and just with the mindset of you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get married, you get a house, and then you have children. And I was following all of that, feeling like this is really empty and that I didn't fit in no matter where I was. And using substance to help me fit into where, the world and what it was.
That happens, I think, to a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah,
Like one place to numb yourself into
exactly.
existing.
Exactly. Yeah. I had my daughter in 93. And then a couple years later, I had a son, my son Scott, my daughter Holly, my son Scott. And at the time when I got diagnosed, at the time I had my daughter, my father had just been diagnosed, or I should say just prior to me getting pregnant, my father got diagnosed with AIDS. And I said, I need to give him grandchildren before he passes. And so, which I was getting ready to have children anyway. So I ended up getting pregnant and having my daughter. And my father lived with that diagnosis for about 5 years. So from the time he was diagnosed till he passed, was about 5 years. So then my son came along, and when he was 9 months old, my dad passed from AIDS. And that was my lowest point at that point. I was daddy's little girl. I'm one of two. I have an older sister. And he opened the whole spirit world to me. I remember the Father's Day, probably the next Father's Day, because he passed in December. And so come June, I had three things that happened. I was out on my front step having a glass of wine. I don't think that had anything to do with it. And I looked up and I saw his face in the clouds. And I just stood there and watched it. And I had no means of taking a picture. And it aged the way I had seen him age in his life. And it just stayed there, and it aged and it went away. And I was
That's amazing.
blown away by that. I had a dream where he came to me in the dream and he was hugging me, and I was sobbing so much in the dream that my husband at the time woke me up because he was concerned that I was sobbing so much. Because it was like I was really with him again, and that was amazing. And then we had gotten a rent-a-car, and we were returning the rent-a-car. So I was driving one vehicle with the two kids in it, and my husband was driving another one. And I had a Fleetwood Mac cassette in the player. And all of a sudden it stopped and it started playing on the other side. And I didn't even know cassette players could do that. And it was a song that said something that on the lines of, I miss my little girl and putting my arms around you and that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I now know, goosebumps,
Yeah.
that there is life beyond this life. So that was really the start of validation that life goes on. We can still connect with people who aren't here on the planet physically. And then if you fast forward that to the telepathy tapes, to knowing that you can communicate with individuals, whether it's dementia or whatever, nonverbal people, or even minimally, with our thoughts, because there is no separation.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Interesting that you brought up the telepathy tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for those listeners who are not familiar with it. Do you want to explain it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I started listening. A friend of mine actually sent me the tapes, and I forget her last name, Kai
Dickens.
Dickens. Okay, I was gonna call it Brackens, but that's Sarah that I'm thinking of it. But anyway, she did, and I'll let you kind of explain what you know about it as well, because
Sure.
you probably know more than I do. But I was blown away by listening to the tapes, because I have a lot of telepathic abilities and have since I was little, and I was always sort of shunned about that, and I also have done a therapeutic writing program that I work a lot with, or used to work a lot with autistic children, and just the connection that they had with the horses as opposed to humans, because we had too many expectations.
Yes.
And horses have none. And so, just to watch them, that gives me chills, because I remember just watching these kids look into the horse's eyes, feel them, hold them, and a human comes near them and they're like, cross off, go away. And it just, it really, I've always been more connected to nature than people anyway. So when I listened to all the telepathy tapes, I was just like, it vindicated me, I guess. And that was, I'm sure, really helpful for you.
The validation of the things I thought I heard from, like, the one major thing that I thought I heard from him, and then how it changed my life so much. So it was about a year and a half ago that all these other podcasts that I was listening to kept mentioning the telepathy tapes. I'm like, I really got to go listen to these. And I listened to a couple of them. But what used to happen was I would hear about people being able to connect with their autistic children and be envious or bummed that I didn't feel like I had that. Like, well, great for you, but I don't have that. And so I only listened to a couple of them, and then more podcasters kept talking about. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll listen to some more, because they really do recommend that you listen to them in chronological order from the beginning. Well, the more I listened to them, I was like, oh my God, I was getting questions answered. And now they've gone on to have the talk tapes. There's also another one with the moms. And the fact that I even know I have people I could reach out to with a question. I mean, my son doesn't live with me now, so I don't have as many immediate, I'm not on a day-to-day basis. I see him once a month. But yes, it totally changed my life and our relationship, and relieved me of 99% of all stress and worry related. And that's huge.
That is huge, because there's a lot of stress.
There was so much stress.
And you probably feel isolated, right? Like, I mean, like, you don't feel like anyone understands what you're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was only one time really when I was working at getting him into a residential school program that somehow is connected with another mother, online. And she literally told me her story, and she was speaking my story. And for the first time in my life, I felt like somebody got what my day-to-day life was like, and to always, for 20 years, I couldn't ever leave him alone, ever. I always had to make sure somebody was there, or he was with somebody. That's not how I thought life was gonna go. And yeah, that's really what life is about, being able to roll with whatever happens. So I ended up listening to the tapes and thinking, okay, wow. And then I realized that, so back around 2017, Scott had a big blowout at Christmas Eve where I had to call the police because I couldn't contain him. He was having an aggressive meltdown. And I got him into his bedroom, but prior to going in there, there was a drawing of me that my father had done. And he had smashed his hands against that, and he was bleeding from his wrist, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't contain him. So I got him into his bedroom because that's what I've been taught to do, and just holding the doorknob closed as I'm dialing 911, because thank God I had the phone in the pocket. They showed up. They were like, and I'm like, don't use sirens. They showed up and came in and were able to get in. He just had minor scratches. It wasn't anything awful, but you know, he's wiping the blood all over the room. And so that was really traumatic. And at that point, he was just visiting for the weekend. He was already living in a residential program. Fast forward to 6 months later, Memorial Day weekend, another big meltdown. Now this time, my partner at the time was home. Scott's dad and I had divorced back when he was only about 6. And he was trying to hold him down. I was trying to help. He was biting him. We couldn't contain him again. Had to call because after 20 minutes, it wasn't subsiding. Called the police. It just needed manpower. Once they got there and there were more people, it dissipated. And that's when I heard in my head, Mom, get out of this relationship, sell the house, and do what you came here to do.
Wow. Oh,
And I went,
Wow.
wow.
huh? Okay.
Okay, goosebumps all
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
3. Yeah.
Wow.
And okay. So because I was staying in a relationship at that point, I'd already divorced his father. Now I've been with this other person for 15, 13, 14, 15 years. Because that relationship took a while to finally dissolve. But it was not, I was trying to keep the house to be able to have my son come visit me once a month.
Wow.
And that meant staying in the relationship. And that, you know, he could go to his dad's, he'd go and visit his dad. His dad lived with his parents, with Scott's grandparents. And it was 1 minute down the road, and he would visit there once a month too, and no issues. This is where the validation, and it's something Glenn and I share a lot in Circle, because we share from the experiences that we have and the tools that have helped us heal from what we've been through. Our children are a barometer for us. I used to think I needed to fix him, that if I could just get his behaviors under control, then everything would be okay. And Abraham Hicks was really helpful, highly recommend them, in having me understand that making my happiness based on the behaviors of another, I was never going to be happy. And that's fact.
I think
For
that
everybody.
should go on a big poster in
Yeah.
everybody's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And he was reflecting all the stress and turmoil that I was going through. It was killing both of us. This
And he
was not
just
good.
trying to help you.
Yeah.
And didn't have the
He did not-
ability.
no.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
So that moving forward, that was the last time. Even my partner at that point, he's like, he can't come here if he's going to be like that. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't be here either. So that took some time to get to the point of leaving that relationship, and I would only see him over at his dad's because I couldn't go through that again. Plus the program had said, you know, we'll be right there if anything happens. Well, it took them over 24 hours to respond to me from the home. To even, and I'm like, that's not immediate response. That I can't depend on. This isn't safe for him or I. So no, that can't happen. Yeah, so that started the journey of really working on myself and the healing. And the more I healed myself, the more I got to know me. I had never lived on my own in my life. I went from living with my parents to living with my fiance to living with the next guy. And when I got Scott into his residential program and I got out of the other relationship, I had an apartment for the first time in my life in my early 50s. And I'm like, who am I? What do I want to do? How do I like to spend my time? What do I want to eat? Like, do I even want to eat? What do I want to do? And I just started trying all kinds of new things, which was amazing. The other piece about hearing about the telepathy tapes was like a couple months after I had that realization and heard that part. Occasionally I would get texts or messages from his program. You know, he had a meltdown, we had to pull the van over and do a hold. They hold them so they're not hurting themselves or others. And they had to do that. And for the first time in my life, I thought, I trust him. That he needed to do that for some reason. And I went, what did I just hear myself say? Right. My son was 28 at the time. Like, that's the first time I've ever said, I trust my son. And I didn't get all upset. I didn't start crying. It was wow. Like the angels started to sing. I just couldn't, it was beyond comprehension that I actually was at that place because of hearing.
And do you think he was transmitting that to you, that, you know, he like to help you come to that conclusion?
That you know, I hadn't thought of it that way, but because of the other things that had happened, it clearly could have been that. I mean, I know that, you know, if you get in a traffic jam or if, you know, you're late because, you know, something spilled on the way out the door, that could have just saved your life, because had you been on the road already, something might have happened. Exactly. You know, everything's happening for us, not to us. I mean, these are all the lessons that I've been learning and all the spiritual books and all the stuff that that I got to get really into once I started living on my own and being just in my, you know, the space of me. And doing artwork and watching Gaia programs.
I know Gaia's great.
Gaia, yes. Quantum physics. Who knew that I was really into string theory or quantum physics? And I'm like, wow, I am, right? Try not to get all that about it, because when you give it that label, it's like, wow, metaphysics.
I know it sounds a lot more scary than it actually is.
Yes, it's not a math equation. You don't have to do, you don't have to do physics to do that. It's a energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share with us the story that you shared with us earlier about when he had to go into the hospital?
Oh, yes. So just this past April, that they had been working for a couple of years to be able to get him to have his wisdom teeth out. And it was quite a process in order to get somebody who would do it, because he has to be put completely under. And so, you know, it was building, and even in myself, I still have my wisdom teeth. I didn't have to have them out. My daughter had to have hers out. My sister, everybody I know has had their wisdom teeth out. And I was like, you know, some of the times were not easy for people, dry socket, other things. And so that I had anxiety. I'm like, God, what's that going to be like when he needs to go and have this done? I'm like, do we really need to do that? Maybe we don't. So he had it scheduled for like the end of March. It was building up, and then it got rescheduled to April. And I'm like, okay, all right, now we're going to go on the build up again. And it was getting within like a week about it. And I was like, doing a jigsaw puzzle. And I'm thinking, you know, he's going to wake up and he's going to have this, you know, holes in his mouth with the taste of blood and gauze. And, you know, how's he going to know how to deal with that? Like, and then it was, you know, I'm thinking about that and I'm feeling the anxiety. And all of a sudden I hear him in my head say, Mom, it's okay. I'm orchestrating this. And I was like, wow. Again, all the anxiety and stress just went away. And I'm like, oh, right. And you already know what's going to happen, because you know, like, the telepathy tapes have shared with me how these individuals, they've read a book that you've read because they've read it through you. They can tap in and see what you're seeing, read what you're reading, know everything about you, know everything about other people. And then to hear, so my validation, to back up just a moment, after I heard about the telepathy tapes was, I was like, okay, I need to do a little test with him. So I took 2 pieces of paper and I wrote yes on one and no on the other. And I went and sat with him on one of my visits with him and his dad's. I said, Scott, I want to try something. So I pointed to the yes and he said yes. And I pointed to the no and he said no. And I'm like, can you read mommy's mind? Yes. Can you read daddy's mind? Yes. I'm like, okay, I gotta ask him something that's a no here.
Oh, whoa.
I'm like, do you like cats? No. Do you like dogs? Yes. Do you know about the Hill, which is a non-physical place that these nonverbal people gather and connect with each other? And he said
From
yes.
all over the world.
Yes, all over the
So
world.
he knew about that.
Yes, he said yes. And I said, do you go there? He said yes. And I'm like, do you want to learn how to spell to speak? He's yes. And I said, do you want to be given a voice? And he said yes. And I just lost it. It was also the longest conversation I've ever had with him.
Oh, Heidi.
Still brings me to tears right now. And
That's true.
and I was blown away. A month or 2 later, I decided I wanted to do a couple more yes, no, and I brought it out and I said, Scott, can we do this? And he's like, no. I'm like, of course not, because I need to just do it with, I know he just wants me to get more in touch with telepathy. Just trust that I'll know what I need to know when I need to know it, and not try to make anything happen. You know, I recently even learned that we're in our highest vibration and we can be feeling so zen and connected. The minute we try to figure out why, or the second we try to figure out, well, why is that like that? We've pinched ourselves off from that divine connection because we're now in our head,
Right.
and we're trying to mentally figure this out. And you're not going to get the answer that way.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Laurie and I were talking about this before you came today.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as like, people don't trust in anything. They trust in, you know, like a God that they don't know, and they believe that with every fiber of their being. But you tell them that you see ghosts or spirits, or, you know, that you can speak telepathically with somebody, and they're like, oh, that's, you know, and they spend so much time trying to debunk it.
Yes.
That it takes away all of that inspirational joy you feel when you do experience it.
Yes.
And you do trust it. And then it's like, thanks a lot, you know, rip my happiness right out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that must have felt amazing to you.
This whole thing, I tell you, changed my life. My life for, you know, he's 29. So, I mean, let's basically say for 30 years, I mean, he was an infant, so you didn't expect him to talk to me then. But yeah, all that time having to, being hypervigilant, trying to guess ahead what he wanted, what he needed, try to fix him, you know, and to, you know, they had the realization too, which is another Abraham Hicks quote too, is that I have my path, he has his path. We were together for as long as we were meant to be together. And then I needed to hand him over and trust him to others. And the mindset of, because I was in the mindset of, you know, people say, oh, how's he doing? And he'd be doing good. And I'm like, God, I don't even want to say that, because every time I do, the other shoe drops.
Oh.
And I'm like, and it would, because I expected that.
Yeah.
And so when I learned from Abraham Hicks, wow, the better it gets, the better it gets. How much better can it get? I was like, I mean, you can think like that. Like, you could do that.
Right.
All right. And as soon as I started doing that, man, I was an x-ray tech for 37 years. And the last job that I did was in mammography. And I would have the woman in the room and we'd have to go through history and talk about different things. And certain people, I would end up sharing about my son and say, yeah, I live under the threat of violence every day. I never know when he's gonna go off on me and this and that. And all of a sudden I could hear what I was sharing. I'm like, but yet I was also, I think I was Reiki 2 certified at that point. I was learning about EFT tapping because that really helped me with anxiety and PTSD. And I'm like, okay, I need to switch the dialogue. So I would say, oh, I'm on the complementary therapies committee here at Emerson Hospital, and I'm into tapping and that kind of thing. And I mean, you can hear the energetic difference between living under the threat of violence every day, or I'm into energy medicine. And when I switched that story, my life changed to the point of how I'm living my life right now. I didn't even imagine that it could be this fun, peaceful, infused in love, connection with everything, and it just keeps getting better. Is it all? It's all in a high? No, we'd be dead if we're just going up. You have to have the contrast. That's another Abraham Hicks. You can't know what you do want without knowing what you don't want. It changed my life. Yeah, and each thing.
I think a lot of people need to hear what you just said, because there's a lot of things going on, a lot of anxiety, and I think that message brings a lot of positive hope, and joy, and just
Yes.
knowing that you can
Yes.
have a different life, you can have a good life,
Yes.
and you can be happy, and it's despite
Yes.
what might be going around you, you can be joyful and peaceful. Yeah,
Because it's all a choice.
Yeah.
We make it many choices all day long. And the moment, I mean, you can hear yourself go, and then wait, okay, wait a minute. Let me shift that. All right. And if you have to stop and take a couple of breaths, step outside and get your bare feet on the ground, whatever it is. As the other piece is, there's so much going on in the world. And people say, what can I do as one person? Oh, please. The positivity of one person impacts a million negative. So imagine a world that we all just took care of ourselves. If we tended to our own energy and cared about this vessel, which is our temple, because it's what our soul is residing in at this moment, in this lifetime, and allowed ourselves to listen to what we needed, not try to push ourselves through anything, because that, you push against something, it's going to push back. Yeah. So these are all the different lessons that have presented themselves to me, and the things that have helped me with it has been the Reiki, having a spiritual community, people I can talk to about anything, which is where Glenn came into my life, and self-care. It's not selfishness.
No.
It's, the criteria we as moms, and even just simply as women, I was taught, to worry about your kids. Oh, you got to worry about them. That's loving them, right? No, that's the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, worry. You want to do something good for your kids, and envision them happy, healthy, and enjoying their life, and do not be attached to what that looks like. Their level of happiness. My son was happy in the plastic preschool when he went. I had him at the nature preschool, and then he got diagnosed, and I was like, oh. And when he went into got diagnosed with autism, and he went into that school program, and it was plastic, colorful things and different stuff, as opposed to, working with sheep's fur and different things like that. And just, that was too open for him at that point. Realizing that what made him happy was not what made me happy. And then you can see that repeated over and over again in multiple people. Like, another Abraham Hicks. There's 3 laws that
They
the
better
mo-
give you a plus,
They-
you know,
right?
you know, they better praise you and give you a thank you card.
I know my life purpose is the 3rd law, which is the law of allowing. I want to be allowed to live my life the way I want to. I need to allow other people to live their lives the way they want to.
Yeah.
And the catch to that, though, is not letting how they're choosing to live their life steal my joy.
Mm.
That's my hardest lesson at this point, over and over again. Because I've learned a lot of things and I know a lot of things, but I am not here to live somebody else's life. I don't know what their soul contract is. They could be doing exactly what they need to do to exit the planet when they've arranged to exit the planet. It's, you know, if I begin to tell somebody how to live their life, I come across as an arrogant a-hole. So, yeah, it's,
My guide used to tell me, stay in your lane.
I was just thinking of that because you say that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to, you know, it's a big lesson, like, you want to help or you want to, you know, fix this or whatever. No, you just, like you said, live and let them live their
Yes.
life and don't try to interfere.
correct. And the 3 of us who all work in the healing
Yeah,
modalities,
that's, yeah.
why do we want to do that? Because we want to help other people.
Exactly.
Well, you know how you help other people the most is
Let them-
self-care.
yeah,
Points that
exactly.
finger at you. Just like whenever you seem to get upset about what somebody's saying to you or whatever's going on, put the mirror in front of your face, because that's your issue. Same with somebody's coming at you saying you're doing something to them and you're making them angry or you're being mean to them. It's they need the mirror in front of them. Although I little disclaimer, I did that with my partner when I first learned about it. That didn't go so well.
Cause you
Yeah.
mentioned it, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, well, it was nice because I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, your issue's not with me. It's really with yourself. You really need to go stand in front of a mirror.
Boy.
But it's like I used to get defensive back because he's
Yeah.
like, eh, and I'd be like, eh, and then all of a sudden I was like, it's yours. And so when it got turned around and he was like, oh, your issue's now really with yourself. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm still with you. You worked it out.
Oh,
He went his way, I went mine.
But sometimes that's for the best.
It is. And thankfully we have communicated at this point. So I have actually resolved all of my relationships. I'm best friends with my former husband again. We've known each other since we were 8, and we have the children together. Yeah.
How did your daughter deal with?
I was gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Very hard on her.
I
Very hard.
imagine.
She refers to it, she feels like, and she did, she co-parented with me. She missed out on having time with friends because I would need to have her fill in when he got off the bus if I wasn't home for work, and I just work part-time, but yeah, and you know, one positive thing I can say about it is my kids have never argued. Never argued.
Right.
You know
No, right?
him. Telepathically, maybe.
Telepathically. Ollie likes to call it coconut wireless.
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, it was hard on her, and she said, like, at one point she even said to me when she was older, she said, you know, you always tell people that you were there for your children. She goes, you weren't there for me. And I said, you know what? I apologize. Like, I won't say I'm sorry because I don't want more things to be sorry, but I will apologize, and I'll apologize as many times as she needs me to apologize. And I said, I've learned techniques to help us heal from these different things. And that's what I have to offer at this point. I was doing the best I could with where I was at. And her now husband was her fiance. No, I think it was her boyfriend at that point. They both were just like, I mean, talk about if you do that, it just diffused the whole thing. If I were to have defended and said, well, you know, like, but I wasn't, yeah, it's gotta be hard. I also know that we all choose the life and the parents and the situations we come into. So but I'm not gonna throw that in her face and say, well, you chose this. Um, that's not helpful. Just telling her that I apologized, and it was hard, and she's had to work through that, and she's done her therapy, and
But
yeah,
how many people don't get that from the parent or from a partner when they
Yeah.
feel like they were gypped,
sure,
to actually have that person say,
Yeah.
I was wrong,
Yeah.
like, I apologize for how I handled that. That has to be super healing for her.
I'd like to believe so. Yeah, I mean, she and I are close, and we still converse, and even more than ever now that I have a grandson that lives down in Tennessee. So that's our way of being able to communicate is through FaceTime, and she's living life the way she feels guided. And again, another one, like, is it the way I would? No, it's her life. And we have our opportunities. There's times when I'll say something, it's, oh, do you want me to bring up how you were when we were growing up? I said, I was joking. Not a good thing to joke about. It's all good. I said, no. I said, I know we all have our way of dealing with stuff. I had mine. You're doing the best you can. I mean, if we're all just here to love and support one another, literally, that's what I think. These are all my truths. I'm not saying anybody else has to believe in any of them. It's just what's worked for me, what has become into my awareness. And I'm a double Cancer, so Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising, and I understand the wording that goes on with Cancer is I feel, and I have a Sag Moon, which is I believe. So I'm a I feel, I believe person. This is why I had to do the things that I did, because I could feel, and it was literally causing discomfort that I could not live with. I can't live uncomfortable. I have to feel good. Otherwise, I need to figure out why I don't and resolve it.
That's a pretty healthy approach.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and being an X-ray for that many years, I saw 60-year-olds that looked 80 and 80-year-olds that looked 60. And I'm like, I would ask them, oh, so what do you do? How do you spend it? And it was always active mind, active body. Okay, yeah, I can do that. And I want to be like the 80-year-old that looks 60.
So what kind of healing work are you doing now?
Glenn and I hold healing circles every Tuesday and Wednesday, except for when we're on vacation, which will be the end of July and beginning of August. We have a Facebook page, Glenn and Heidi's Healing Heart. We do a blend of, well, we believe when you learn modalities, you don't single them out. You're a blend now of all those different modalities.
We've talked about that too.
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
So we have a lot of crystals. That was his big love before I met him. And then we gotten even more. And so the energy in our space is really good. And we do Reiki. We do something called Bell Vespita, which is an angelic healing of the heart. I'm a biofield tuning fork practitioner, so I bring tuning forks into sessions. So when people arrive for circle, just come in, sit down, look around, whatever you want to do. Sometimes I have some food to share. We're pretty much whole food, plant-based, so it's clean, gluten-free food. Have conversations. You can talk about anything but politics. And then we offer people the opportunity to get onto the table. When we're having conversation, Glenn is wonderful at asking questions. We don't tell anybody what to do. We ask questions, and then they hear themselves speak their solutions and
Yeah.
realize that they can. Nobody heals somebody else.
Right.
They hold space while the person heals themselves.
Right.
My belief.
Yeah.
And when they hear themselves, I can't tell you how many times I hear them say, oh, wow, really? I just said that? Like, they heard themselves speak their own truth of what's gonna help them.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we offer private sessions.
Mhm.
Another favorite thing of mine is the Mune Key rights, which are shamanic rights.
Yeah, I've taken those.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Glenn taught me how to gift them, so I gift them now.
Mhm.
And calling on the archetypes and creating sacred space and doing that, I feel so connected with those beings that it just moves me so much every time.
Mhm.
And going through those changed my life. That was, I got into the relationship with him at that time. I left a profession of 37 years. I became a reverend in the Universal Brotherhood movement, which is not like any church thing or anything like that. It's literally an energetic thing that says I have a bachelor's of divinity in ministerial counseling and metaphysical healing, which is what we do. It's the conversation and it's the energy medicine. Yeah, received the Bell Vespita initiations, and my whole life shifted because it all became centered on this thing, the heart,
Mhm.
following your heart. We're not taught that.
No.
No.
We're taught, he has a great way of saying it and always confusing me. Like, we're taught to follow our heart, but listen to our head, and it's the backwards, something like that. However, we're taught to navigate life.
Switch it up.
Yeah, do the opposite. Stop thinking about what you think you should do and tune into your heart. Because for me, I absolutely have experienced when I started following my heart, I always have what I need when I need it.
Mm.
I don't need a pile of anything anywhere to know that I have it. I always have what I need when I need it. And I enjoy life. And I have a very healthy daily practice. My one non-negotiable is 20 minutes of stillness every day when I first get up. And when it's nice out, I'm outside.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, that's what connects me to that
Mhm.
invisible world, because there's far more unseen in this world than there is seen.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know, raising my grandson by myself, I used to say to him, if it feels good here, then it's probably a good choice. But if it feels really awful here, it's probably not a very good
Right.
choice.
That's great.
And,
That's great advice.
he really understood that. I think he still does.
Yeah.
So,
Because there's so much more in tune with their body.
Yeah.
If we could just stay tuned in with our body and the unseen world from the
mhm.
time we come onto this planet in this body. Yeah, I dream of that place, that world. More
It's
people.
coming.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
see it.
really,
I
really,
see it
truly
in,
believe it's coming.
yes. I think it's here.
I would.
I think
yeah,
it's here
I
and
agree.
it's spreading, that more people are adapting that. There are more parents that are aware of it, that are having children that are asking questions about, the invisible friend and oh, you remember when I was in your tummy, or you were in my tummy, whatever it was.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or you were this for me in my last life.
Yeah,
Or
you're right.
I see, grandma's over here right now. They foster that. They
You're not, yeah, they're
encourage it
right.
as opposed to discourage it.
That's important to
It
have that
is.
support for the children and to know that they can talk to you about it.
Yep,
So,
Yeah. for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great to have you. Is there anything you'd like to add about your life or your son or the journey?
I've always felt like there was gonna come a time where he and I were gonna be able to have conversations.
Mm.
At this point, there are still even places where learning to spell or the act of teaching spelling is illegal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the government doesn't like the idea of people being able to read other people's minds. Because these kids, part of these behaviors, part of what they have so much responsibility because they know the good and the bad of what people are doing. And you allow them the opportunity to be able to type that out and spell it out, things are going to come to light. The darkness is going to be exposed. And I heard about spelling, like it came out in 94 and my son was born in 97. So I had heard about it, but no, it's not a valid method. We don't. And it
Well,
was
and I did
squashed.
some reading on that they're trying to debunk the whole thing
Yep.
because of that, and that's crazy.
Yes, because these kids have the thing called apraxia where they have body movements they can't control. So they need some stabilization in order to initiate the spelling
Right.
initially. And they're trying to say that the assistant is influencing what they're spelling. But there is enough evidence at this point that
Yeah,
Well, that's what the telepathy tapes is about, is the evidence.
yes,
From
yes.
family after family,
yes, over and over again.
over and over, and indisputable, and they've had just lots of different kinds of people come in and
Yep.
be, on the tests, and it's always remarkably the same, it's always accurate.
Yes, yeah,
It's really not, it's not refutable, in my opinion.
no, and there's one great story in there too, with a man whose wife got dementia.
Mhm.
And apparently, people can lose their language when they get really far on in dementia. And he was struggling to get her, like, even on the toilet or into the car. And one night he was laying in bed and I don't know, he said it out louder in his head. He's like, I just wish you could help me, get you on the toilet more easily and not have it take 10 minutes or a half an hour. And he heard her voice in his head saying, oh, yeah, I can help you with that. And he's like, what? And so she went through the details of exactly what to do. So the next day when they got up, he did exactly what she said. And he did it within 2 minutes. He was able to get her onto the toilet. And he said he was so happy. He did the same thing with getting her into the car. He said, you know what? When I got her into the car in 5 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes, he goes, I did a victory dance around the car going. So, and then he became somebody who, when he would go into these different memory cares or different places like that these non-speakers would reach out to him.
Mhm.
And then he would let the facility know, or the community know, that he had somebody reaching out. Could they please let their family know? And if they're interested, then I would be happy to help,
Oh, that's-
bridge the gap.
Cause he was receptive.
Yeah,
And they knew that.
yep. And
And
his wife had passed at that point too, and that became his commitment to those nonverbal people. The stories just go on and on and on. And the major message that these autistic people want us to know is that we're simply here to love one another. It's
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, I've always kind of felt after working with autistic children that they have more insight of what's real,
Mhm.
and not the matrix, but what's actually real.
Yes.
And, I found that they're kind of the transition from the old ways, not the real old ways that were nice, but the ways now into the future. And how can we all get there together in a better part of communication? And I really felt that it was very hard talking to, especially the places that house these children, about what that actually meant. They just thought I was nuts. It was very discouraging for me. I was not unhappy when the program ended, just because I felt very tied
Yes.
as to how to do it.
Yeah. I think this is a major catalyst for the change and shift in this whole
Absolutely.
area of all of that. And I'm honored to be here on the planet at the time to be a witness to it. And having turned, I said in the beginning that my biggest, my lowest low was with my dad passing, and then it was when I was dealing with my son's aggression and he was still living at home with me. And I was a mess. I can remember laying on the kitchen floor and just kind of like moving my legs along in a circle and crying and asking for my father to help me, which he was already passed. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine doing that all the time. You know, it's one thing to help somebody, you know, for an hour with
Yes.
forces, but to
Yeah.
live it, that's.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I did it. There was a lot of marijuana and alcohol involved in that, but that didn't really help. Didn't really do anything. Got to the point where no amount of that
Right.
would do anything.
And that, I think that's important to share too, is that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a go-to, but it doesn't, you know,
No.
change anything. If anything, it makes it worse.
Yeah. And as I listened to what I needed to do and to his guidance, I was able to stop all of that. Like I haven't smoked weed or done any kind of marijuana or cannabis since June of 2018, and then I stopped drinking any alcohol in April of 2019. Simply a choice.
Yeah,
It just didn't. If I did either of those, the newfound connection to spirit would disappear, and all those things would depress me. They actually used to lift me up
in
a
the
little,
beginning,
and
yeah.
like when my life was not what I wanted it elevated me. But then when I started to take control of my life, if I did them, it depressed me and
That's
it cut off my connection. So like, yeah, no, I happened to be when it went legal in Massachusetts, and my friends went, but it's legal now. And I said, I'm so happy for you. It's not my interest anymore. Everybody's got to do what they want to do. I have no judgment. I just know what was my path and what feels good for me.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was a fantastic conversation.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and thank you for being so, you know, vulnerable in your sharing. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
I hope so. I know I didn't go through this. You say, I know I'm going through this for a reason. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. And you're welcome.
It's been great talking to you. It really has.
Thank you. It's great being here.
So we want to thank our listeners and viewers for watching today. We welcome your comments, and please like, share, and subscribe, as that really means a lot for us to bring our message forward. And if you've enjoyed this podcast as much as we have, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, how is your intuition leading you to the next perfect step?